No? Yes? Okay, cool. Alrighty. Good afternoon. There we go. I think I want to do that one more time. Let's try that one more time. I think let's do that for the Lord. Good afternoon. Hallelujah. Well, before I start today, I do want to make two announcements so everybody knows where to go and what to do, just in case. So I would politely ask all of you to put your phones on silent, and if we do have any type of bathrooms, all right, bathrooms are through this door to the right or the left. Well, let's get this show started. Well, good evening and welcome to Kentucky Wesleyan College. Well, first, I want to take a moment to thank this evening's sponsor, Davis County Public Library, the Coalition for Inclusive Davis County, the Hager Foundation, and the Human Relations Commission, the Western Academy, and the Young Foundation as well. Can we all give them a round of applause? Without them, we would not have this event and it would not be possible, so thank you to them. And our co-sponsors for this event is the KWC, NAACP, and the Black Student Union. Alrighty, well, after these questions, we're gonna have two segments. We're gonna let him speak, let him tell his story, and then we're gonna have a time for Q&A after, so please hold your questions until after. Thank you very much. Well, without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest of honor. In 1961, young Hezekiah Watkins was arrested at the Greyhound bus station in Jackson, Mississippi at the age of 13, where he was sent in a paddy wagon to Mississippi State Penitentiary, known as Parchman Penitentiary, and placed on death row. What was his crime? He was allegedly participating with a group known as the Freedom Riders who had embarked on a journey from Washington, D.C. to New Orleans to push for equal rights of African Americans, while also desegregating bus terminals throughout the South. After spending 5 days at Parchman, Hezekiah's life would forever be changed, resulting with him being arrested over 100 times and more with the years to follow. These experiences did guide him along a path to focus on improving, page flip, the quality of life for African American individuals everywhere or all around the world. This eventually resulted in Hezekiah's recognition by the 112th Congress of the United States for his service to Mississippi and mankind. The book being promoted, Pushing Forward, tells the story of a young man who became a grown-up overnight and those life challenges to focus on and continue to serve the public and the youth. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming to Owensboro, Kentucky Wesleyan College freedom rider, civil rights activist, and congressional honoree, Hezekiah Watkins.
Thank you. Good evening. How's everybody? Yeah, you look well. Yes. My name is Hezekiah Watkins, as you probably already know, from Jackson, Mississippi. And I'm here today to tell you my story. It all started at the age of 13. It seemed as though I didn't have anything to do at 13. I had a bicycle, other toys that was there for me to play with, but there was something missing. I don't know what it was just missing. So I chose to watch cartoons. And I chose the Road Runner. And every day I would watch the Road Runner. But this particular day, I fell asleep. But I was awakened with the national news on. And they was in a place called Montgomery, Alabama. Never heard of Montgomery, Alabama. And what I saw that day will be with me forever. I saw individuals being beaten, being spat on, even dragging women by their hair, putting them in a paddy wagon. I didn't know what to think. What is this? So the news goes off, and I run to my friend's house. And I asked him, will you come and watch the news with me tomorrow? He looked at me and said, no, man. He said, news is for old folks. And I'd rather be doing something that's playful, entertaining, as watching the news. And I said, man, this news is totally different. He said, no, I don't want to waste my time. But I kept begging him. And the reason I was begging him, because everybody in the neighborhood said that he was smarter than the other kids. So I needed someone with some smartness to watch the news with me, to explain to me what is happening. He finally said yes. And the next day he was there. And the news popped on. It was like a carbon copy of yesterday. The news popped on. These individuals being beaten again. And while the news is being broadcast, my friend is talking. Man, what they doing here? Why are they doing that? I'm saying, shut up so I can hear. Man, but did you see that lady over there that get hit by the head with a brick? I said, I saw that. But shut up. Shut up and let's listen. So the news goes off. And he said, what is this? I said, I don't know. Man, I never seen white folks being beaten like that before. I said, neither have I. Did you see how they was dragging that white lady by her hair and threw her in the back of that paddy wagon? I saw that. But I'm looking for you to tell me, what is this? He looked at me and said, I don't know. Some folks going to jail. I said, I know that, man. I need to know more. He said, I don't know. He said, but I'll be back tomorrow. And the next day, he was there, and we were watching the news, but we still haven't found out the purpose for these freedom riders. But we are very interested. So this particular day, we talking, the news has gone off, and we discussing what we had watched on TV, and my friend is telling me, well, why don't we go to talk to some elderly folks? It's okay. And to us, an elderly person was a person in their 20s. But we tried to find an adult. The only place we could find an adult was at the pool table, pool hall. We couldn't go in, but we could go and, knock on the door. So that's what we did. We knocked on the door. This young man comes to the door. What you boys want? Sir, can you tell us about the Freedom Riders. Oh, yeah, I tell you. You don't need to mess with them because they are burn a cross in your yard. Might even burn your house down. I might even kill your family. I said, I didn't know that. He said, yeah, don't you watch the news? I said, yes, sir, we just finished watching it. So we walked away with our heads down, really not believing what we was told. So we had to go back and regroup, kind of find out what was happening. We didn't have but 2 stations during that time. Not that you could turn on CNN and get the whole story. So we began watching the CBS TV station, see whether or not their news was any different. But it was the same. But we still did not give up. So my friend name is Troy. So there's a lady stayed out on the street. She would know. She sits on the porch all the time. So we went to her house. She was just as nice. I'll be more than glad to tell y'all whatever you want to know. And she did. And by telling me those things, I don't know what I was thinking growing up in Mississippi. But my mother had kept us from the bigotry, the hatred, the racism, because our school was in walking distance. Our church was in walking distance. We had 2 stores, moms and pop stores. All of that was in walking distance. So there was no need for us to come out of that bubble and be exposed to the real world. So I still was somewhat in a disbelief world based on what I was told. But we kept watching the news every day until one day my friend came to my house and said, man, I got some good news. Okay, what kind of news you have? You need to get up. I got it. Tell me your news. Just wait a minute, I'm going to tell you. Come on, man, stop playing. Tell me your news. He said, I wrote a song. You wrote a song? Okay, let me hear it. But I want you to help out. We used to pretend as though we was the Temptations as kids. But he began singing his song, and the song went something like this. The Freedom Riders coming to Jackson. They coming to Jackson. The Freedom Riders coming to Jackson. Hold up, man. What Jackson are you talking about? He said, I'm talking about this Jackson. I said, man, you lying. They coming to this Jackson? The Freedom, what we see on TV? I can't believe this. Man, when are they coming? They'll be here Sunday. But your mama ain't gonna let you go. I said, well, now, if my mama tell me I can't go, your mama gonna tell you the same thing. He said, but I'm going. And I said, if you go, I'm going. Now, how can we work this? Well, we can shoot hooky from church. That's what we did. We shot hooky and went to the Greyhound bus station. Not to be a Freedom Rider. We just wanted to look at the Freedom Riders, to see what they look like, what they talk like, how they dress, the whole 9 yards. So we get to the bus station and there's no one there. We didn't know what was going on, but we were waiting. And we began to do what 13-year-old kids would do, and that's play. So we were playing, running up and down the sidewalk, We got a little tired of doing that. So my friend stopped and said, man, I'm going up in there. I said, go up in there then. So he kind of pulled the door open, put his head up in there. I said, what you see? He said, nothing. I said, get back. Put my head up in there. What you see? Nothing. I thought you was going in. No, I ain't going in. Why don't you go in? No, I'm not going in. So I got maybe a half of my shoulder in and half of my head in. And as a joke, my friend pushed me into the Greyhound bus station. Now the push wasn't a hard push, but it was enough to get me inside. And that's all I wanted to do, was get inside. Now I know that I was in the wrong waiting area. I knew that. But since I'm in here, I want to get a good look at these white folks' waiting area. And I'm looking. The walls just as pretty. Back during that time, they played the pinball machine. They had the whole wall lined up. And I'm looking. I'm amazed. Until I see this sign. There was a sign hanging off the wall that read, whites only. Now, I knew I was in the wrong waiting area, but it didn't hit me until I saw the sign. So I'm ready to go now. But before I could back out of the waiting area, this police officer kind of hit me on my shoulder and asked me, why are you in here, boy? And I replied, my friend on the outside pushed me in here. Where's your friend? He's on the outside, officer. So now he got me by my wrist with a firm grip, pulling me on the outside. We get outside, and he said, where is he? I looked to my left. My friend wasn't there. I looked to my right. He wasn't there. So the police officer said, I knew you was lying when I saw you. I said, no, sir. My friend pushed me in here. He said, okay, come go with me. Took me in the back of the bus station, and I was asked two questions, your name and your birthplace. Just so happened I was born in Wisconsin. But when I told him Milwaukee, Wisconsin, he automatically assumed I was a freedom rider. I was put into a transport vehicle known as a paddy wagon, and I was taken to this notorious prison called Parchman. Not only was I taken to Parchman, I was put on the death row camp. Never heard those two words, death row. Never heard Parchman prison. There was a lot of things I hadn't heard before. But it came to me just like that. I was beaten almost every day, if not every day. Food was taken. It was just a horrible place, a horrible situation for me. But I got lucky. We had a president named John Kennedy. And the president had a brother named Robert. Robert was the U.S. attorney. When the Freedom Riders came to Jackson, the governor of Mississippi, Ross Burnett, talked with the president, John Kennedy, and assured him that Jackson would not be a blood battle like it was in Alabama. But if we all know the story, it was worse. But anyway, Robert called his brother and said, I'm told that Mississippi has a 13-year-old on death row. I'm told he got on the phone and called the governor of Mississippi and asked, is it true you have a 13-year-old on your death row? And the governor lied and said no. But the next day, one of the governor's aides went to him and said, Mr. Governor, we might be in trouble because you have lied to the President of these United States. And the governor said, you think so? Or something similar. So yeah, well, just call Parchman and have them to bring him back to Jackson. Have Jackson policed to take charge of this case. And then we out of it. But that's what they did. They brought me back to Jackson. I called my mother. My mom came to the police department. I'm in a small room waiting on my mother to walk through the door. Seemed as though everybody was coming in except my mother. But eventually my mom came in, and she came in hollering and crying, screaming, saying, thank you, Jesus. You're a mighty God. You saved my son. And she's running in my direction. And I'm saying to myself, if she doesn't stop, she's going to run over me. And that's what she did. She ran over me and fell in my chest and rubbing my head, asking me about why these knots is on your head. Your head is bleeding over here. So it appears that your nose is crooked. I said, I don't know. But she's crying, snot running from her nose, tears running from her eyes, running in my mouth. But I can tell you that was the best snot and tears, no, seriously, that she could have given me at that time. And it was love because it was my mother, yes. So my mom had to sign some papers stating that I would not affiliate myself with the Freedom Riders. If I did, I was going to be locked up for 6 months. So I'm telling my mom, just go on and sign them and get out of here. And she did. And we get home. She asking me, go on and get out the car. And I'm still sitting in the car because I have 2 older brothers in the house. I'm going to have to explain something too. And I'm trying to formulate what I'm going to tell my brothers. My mom came back out again. She said, boy, you must didn't hear me. I said, get in the house. I noticed that tone had went from an alto to a bass. And I'm asking myself, what's wrong with her? All the love she had shown earlier seemed as though that love just got washed away. Okay. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Yes? Well, why don't we give him another round of applause? Well, we are going to start our question segment. If I can get a couple of my volunteers to help me with our microphones. Got one, got two. Okay. Well, the way how we are going to do this is if you could politely raise your hand. We want to get to as many questions as we can today, just being responsible of everyone's time and courteous of his time since we have to get him on a safe flight soon after, right? Okay, well, if we want to start our questions first in the back.
Hi, I want to start by just saying thank you for all that you did and all that you continue to do. My name's Glenda Wright, and that's the main thing I wanted to tell you. The question I have for you is, I started getting active whenever I was 17 years old, and I became an advocate at 18, starting at the state level. So my question is how do you persevere whenever times get hard? How do you continue to fill in hope and trust in what you have said recently is still a somewhat broken system, even after all the work that we've done?
Well, I can tell you what worked for me. After I became a freedom rider, after that first arrest, I really became a freedom rider, and I was geared for the job. After being told all of the things that could happen, all of the things that would happen. I guess it's just got embedded in me that whereas I'm saying to myself, regardless of what happened, I'm in it for the long haul. And that's what I did. Mm-hmm. Just did not give up.
Okay, yes.
Thank you for thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. I got a question. What is your take on what's going on in the world today? With the
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
what's your take on what's going on today with the immigration people being taken out of the United States and sent back to Mexico, wherever they're taking them, on the immigration situation? What's your take on that?
No. I guess I would cut it short and say my take is probably 99.9% of everybody that's in this audience. I don't like what is being done. There's nothing that I can personally do, but I have encouraged others to join together for some type of march, to do something. Let your voices be heard, and just don't sit silently. But it's something you cannot do by yourself. You got to get everybody in here, and plus, this is a huge thing, and a small march is not going to do anything. Okay.
Okay. Yes, no mic? Does that one work?
Hi. Hi, my name is Danielle Simmons, and I love stories, so I'm very curious. What happened when you got out the car?
Well, my mom told me to get in the house. And she said, once you get in, drop them. Those of you who may not know what dropping means, get out of your clothing. And I thought she was going to whoop me with a belt that we kept in the kitchen, hanging on a nail. But when she walked in with 3 switches, and she braided those switches until she had one. And she took that one switch. She did her thing.
It's okay. I'm probably loud enough. I can be loud. So follow up to her question, because I'm like you, curious. How was your mom's reaction as time went on and you really did become the Freedom Rider after she signed saying that you would not be a part of it? Was she like supportive of that? I'm sure she was absolutely petrified for your life every day that you were out, but I was just curious about that part. Thank you.
Later on, when I became a real Freedom Rider, my mom lost her job. Her water was cut off, although the bill was paid. But that was some of the tactics that they used based on children doing things. They took it out on their parents. Job became very scarce and everything else. If you was renting, you was just ousted. A lot of things happened that shouldn't have. Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. Echoing the sentiment of other people from this room, thank you for all that you've done. The question that I wanted to ask is, activism has changed a lot from the Freedom Riders to today. What do you think is the most positive change that has come since then?
The most positive change back then? Is that the question, sir?
The most positive change now.
Now? Well, it's hard to say, but I'm going to say the passing of the voting right bill. It's a sense to be able to vote. And it's hurtful that we don't. It's hurtful that we don't even register. And those of us who are registered, for some reason, will not exercise their right. We are gifted. Now we are gifted, but we don't know how long we're going to have that gift of voting.
Mr. Watkins, can you explain some of the tactics that were used to keep people from voting?
Yes, sir. Most of the courthouses would have a either a stuffed chicken that was be on the counter, and you would have to tell them how many feathers is on the chicken. They would use marbles in a gallon jar. Give me the number of marbles, and we'll let you register. They use rice. They use watermelons. Will tell me how many seeds is in this watermelon. All kinds of childish stuff. But we was able to get over that.
Thank you, and it's been an honor to serve you while you've been here. It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to know, after all of that happened, all of the bad, how did you find the courage to keep speaking out and going forward?
That's a good question, sir, because I don't have the answer. I should, but it was just so bad until I just wanted to do something, change things, make a difference. I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't just go back to what was happening. You know, when you kind of make up your mind that death is upon you, you're going to run out of gas, you're going to have a flat. You know these things are going to happen, and you just try to brace yourself. Well, how do you brace yourself for death? I don't know, but myself was braced on every little thing I went out to do because I never did know whether I was coming home.
I would just like to ask, how do you feel everything that you've experienced, how do you feel it shaped you into the man and person and activist that you are today?
I feel great. As a matter of fact, my mom is not with me now, but she told me several times, by you getting involved in the Freedom Riders, made a real man out of you, and made a respectful man out of you. And coming from my mom, those words was just like, I don't know, ice cream on a cake. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hi, good evening. Thank you again so much for being here. We all really appreciate everything you've done and the insight that you can give to us. When it comes to organization, you have gotten to do some incredible work with such a monumental historical group. What do you think are qualities that community members and leaders should exhibit and keep in mind when it comes to doing this kind of activism and coming together to organize in our community?
Good question. Number one, I don't think we have the leadership. Well, I know we don't have the leadership we once had. There's only one organization, that's NAACP, that's still moving. They're still, as we would say, shaking a leg. So I would surround myself with one of the chapters, or maybe just even spray it out on your own. You know, leaders are out there, but they just have to step up and lead. I don't know who you are. You don't know who you are. It's just something that's going to have to be in you, that whereas you're going to say, no more. It's not going to happen no more. Will you please repeat that, ma'am? I still didn't get it. Did you understand? Okay, yeah. The future I hope for. As a matter of fact, I'm still hoping that that future will someday show up. I'm saddened to have done the work, and I look at what is happening now all over these United States. We don't have self-guidance. We don't have that old-timey whipping that we used to put on the kids. It's a lot of things been taken out that been put in, and that's why we having these hard times that we are having.
Hi, Mr. Watkins.
How you doing, ma'am?
Thank you for coming today. It's good to see this crowd here to hear your witnessing. We have young men here from Western Academy at the Neblet. I would ask that you stand, please. And there's one there, and there should be two more. These young men, continue to stand. These young men are in an academic enrichment program where we encourage them, we empower them, and we educate them because, see, these are our future leaders. These are the ones that will be standing and delivering for us, for our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. And I would like to ask, what would you like to pour into them today in regards to the leadership that they will need in order to change things in this world?
Okay. The first thing I would say, stay in school. Secondly, obey your parents. Obey your teachers. Obey authority. Those are just a few minor things, but those minor things means a lot. You can just do that, you'll turn out to be great, or greater.
Well, we thank you for that. Because what we're trying to make sure that they understand that education is the greatest weapon that we have to change this world. And that came from Nelson Mandela. And also that it is easier to train children, strong children, than it is to repair broken men. So, from Frederick Douglass. So I want to say thank you again for being here.
Well, is my mic? Yes, it is. Thank you. Well, I feel like that was a great question to end on. Can we give him a big standing round of applause? Alrighty. Well, at this time, if you did not catch our pre-signing, we are going to continue those for the next 20-ish minutes. So if you would like your book signed, we're going to be doing this out of these doors in the Panther Room. And the book is $20 and can be paid by check or cash or Venmo, whatever one works for you today. We would love for you to pick one or a hand-signed book by him. And I want to thank you all for joining us this evening, and thank you to our sponsors again, all of our sponsors. This would not be able to happen without you. And on that note, have a wonderful night and drive safe. Thank you for coming.